Hello, wrestling fans of the world. I'm Skylar Mars, and today this is my first ever interview. I'm very excited to have Chase Murphy, aka that guy with the gloves from Burnout Inc. Chase, thank you for coming.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. I'm actually really excited for this. I've been watching your videos for, years actually.
Ah, dude, thanks. That means a lot.
The first video I remember watching was your review for the biker Undertaker figure when you hadn't even put in like voices or anything yet.
Oh man, that one was so long ago.
That's
Yeah, I actually didn't really have any structure or any idea of what I was doing back then. I was just like, I like this figure, I want to review it, and I just went for it.
At that time, I was watching Captain McKay videos and Grimm's Toy Show stuff, and eventually that just led me to your videos, which I'm glad I found because I actually enjoy watching you quite a bit.
Sweet, thanks, man.
All
I'm
right,
letting you to my videos as well.
all right, enough bootlicking though.
It's just,
um, so I wanted to ask first. I feel like the most obvious question is, how'd you get into stop motion or figure collecting? I guess for that matter.
figure collecting is something I've done off and on pretty much my entire life. Like, way back when I was little, I collected, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, old Hasbro WWF figures, from like the Hulk Hogan days.
Nice.
And then when they started coming out with the Jack Superstars line, that's when I kind of went crazy with it. I bought as many of those as I could. And then I sort of stopped collecting right around high school, just because, your interests change and whatnot.
Of course. I'm in high school now, so I kind of get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different time. For some reason, people like, I still loved action figures. And I still kept them all, but I just didn't put money into getting new ones. And the Jakks figures, to me, right around then, they started to kind of dip in quality. I just wasn't happy with them, and there was a lot of shaming going on if you were into action figures and whatnot.
That's still around. I can promise you that. I collect a little bit, about as much as my wallet will allow me to. I used to do stop motion. Again, sorry for the bootlicking. You were one of the ones I watched to get an idea for what I wanted to do.
Oh, cool.
I only ever got one real match out. It was Abyss versus Undertaker that I thought would be a fun dream match to do.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking of doing a Deadliest Warrior type thing where I would try and do like science stuff, like who would win, but I never got that out. But one thing you do is consistent. You were consistently putting out videos, which I can respect because, the stop motion I did took me 2 months to do, and, you just keep getting them out. How do you do that?
Honestly, I don't think I'm consistent at all. It's kind of hard to find the time. It doesn't take me a whole long to shoot something. It's editing. It's putting all the stuff together. Mainly because like on a whim, my laptop will just crash,
Wow.
and I'll lose like hours worth of work or something like that. But yeah, it's just it's hard to find the time. But that's really all it comes down to. Is just you gotta put the work in and the time.
I guess
I totally know what you mean by it taking sometime just months to do. Like the last part of Meltdown, that took me about three months to do, and that was just because a shit ton of technical failures happened.
Wow. Can you give me any examples, just for the audience at home?
Oh yeah, I've got plenty. Well, first part of it, because I broke it up into two parts, I had the entrances first, and before I was done filming that, I upgraded my phone. That's what I used to shoot stop motion on, was my iPhone. I upgraded to the iPhone 6 Plus, that the big, huge, bulky one.
Wow.
Its camera isn't secure in the phone, so when you shoot something and you shoot a bunch of photos, it actually shakes in there.
Really?
So yeah. So it would just throw off where the camera was supposed to be. So then I had to buy a Nikon, like a really good Nikon camera, and I didn't like the picture quality. I didn't like the auto focusing on it, and so then I finally sprung for another camera, and it was great. But then as soon as I got everything done, something happened with my video editing software to where you're sitting there watching the match, and like when you're watching stop motion, the next movement is another picture entirely.
Yes.
there'd be a split frame second where you would see just pixels everywhere, almost like it's trying to blend the two photos together.
Really?
Almost like a ghost image.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of funny because in some instances it made it look really cool, almost like the wrestlers are moving. But when you go into another scene entirely, it just looked really awful. And oh man, I freaked out about it, and I had like a huge rant on my Instagram. And it was just embarrassing, but stuff like that can happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of Captain McKay, he has a story about that. Have you seen his Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle stop motion?
Yes, that was the first one of his that I saw.
Nice. Yeah, he's told a bunch of people, and he's told me that I think he had that whole thing completely done, and his computer, his hard drive, it all crashed, and it was done.
Oh no.
So like what he could recover from it, he had to go back and redo pretty much the entire thing.
Oh my god.
So with my situation, I had to go through, put all the bad parts onto a completely other software, go frame by frame by frame by frame by frame, and screenshot it. Yeah, screenshot it. So basically, I reshot the whole thing twice.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
But you know what? Yeah, in the end, it's worth it though.
Oh yeah, the closest thing I have to that is I started this thing called Squared Circle Story. It's my history show where I wanted to do wrestling history because I thought that would be really cool. Because no one's done it. Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I was saying, yeah.
Yeah.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, because no one's done that, and I like Pokemon a lot, and I saw these guys do this thing called the Decks. They would go in depth and talk about each Pokemon on the show, And I thought that'd be cool to do that with the wrestlers, the belts, the moves, etc. Anyways, I during the filming of the second episode, I was editing the original first episode during my audiovisual class, but during winter break I couldn't get to it, so I was going to do it at home. Lost all the footage. I've had to wait till today to even start again.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's because I had this hard drive and I plugged it into my computer. It was on there for literally about 60 seconds. As I'm downloading everything, fries, gone.
Jeez.
But at least I kept the originals, so it doesn't sound as bad as your situation. But actually,
just to get back to what you were saying earlier, yeah, pretty much as soon as I got out of high school, I discovered Marvel Legends, and I started collecting those and like the Soda Street Fighter figures.
Is that how you got M. Bison?
Once Mattel showed up, that's when I really got back into WWE figures.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand. I mean, as figures have evolved, the quality, and this almost seems like a peak of ever.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.
Yeah, in terms of like sculpt, articulation, paint. Yeah, it's really great to be a figure collector right now.
Any figures that you wish would come out of guys who've not even gotten their first time in the line yet?
In WWE or like in anything?
Let's say anything, just to make it fun.
Oh, okay. Thankfully, we're getting the Ultimate Kratos figure from NECA. He's gotten a couple figures, but not one with like superposability. So I'm really excited about that. I want a good 6-inch or 7-inch scale Indiana Jones figure because he's my favorite movie character of all time.
Really?
They have not made a good figure of him ever. Like Figma, they're a Japanese import company.
Of course.
And they got the closest, but it still wasn't a good figure.
Did you ever consider just making a custom out of a Han Solo?
Yeah, I thought about it. My biggest gripe with it is just it's all in the face. I think there's some details in like the Han Solo face that wouldn't work well with an Indiana Jones figure. Like I'm pretty certain someone out there who's got more talent than me could custom the hell out of one and make it look exactly like Indy, but I just haven't had the time to really try that yet.
That makes sense.
One person that I am going to try to make a custom of, because I actually don't think we're ever going to get a 6 or 7-inch scale figure of her, is Bayonetta. They made a Play Arts Kai version of her, but that was from the first game. I want to make one based on the second game, and I've got the parts for her. I just got to get the time to do it.
That makes sense. I've actually just started getting into Bayonetta because she just got into the Smash Bros. And that's something I've been huge into. I mean, I've got 5 amiibos so far. I've been super into the Smash Brothers since it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just but Bayonetta, like I still don't get her because she's just basically like the whole game just seems like it's purposefully exaggerative.
In a lot of ways, yes. That's it's kind of the point of it is she's so confident, she's so believes in herself, she just throws it in your face at all times. And if you played like the original Devil May Cry game, it was very much the exact same, like, you know, because Dante's a male protagonist.
Yeah.
He's very, very cocky, very arrogant, very overly stylistic, and so is Bayonetta, just in a different way.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. If you ever get the time to try out Bayonetta 2, I would really recommend it. They sell the Bayonetta 1 and 2 together. But, yeah, so, you know, more bang for your buck.
That actually sounds like it'd make it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Have you got to play as her in the new game yet, or?
Actually, I was about to buy it today, but I'm saving up my money because I'm going to my first. I mean, this is a little silly, but I'm going to my first dance since I was in 8th grade, you know, and I just the chick I'm going with. I mean, may seem a little petty and silly, but I mean, I really, really, you know, I'm into her, and I just want to have the cash on me to seem impressive.
Oh, I've been there. Totally understand. Just be like, yeah, she'd just be like, oh, we should go out to eat. Be like, sorry, sweetie, I got to spend this money on Smash. You know, we're going to go to McDonald's instead. Exactly.
So, you know, it's high school for you. But anyways, one thing I was really curious about, speaking of video games, is Bison. Where did Bison come from?
He came from a conversation that me and my fiance had when we first met. We went on a date to Applebee's, which is it's actually where we first met, and then we're just like, oh, let's just go to Applebee's and have fun or whatever, because they do like trivia night there.
Nice.
And while we were waiting for him, I started talking about how I kind of wanted to get into YouTube, and I wanted to do a combination of like video game movies, action figure reviews, and skits and stuff like that. And one of them that I talked to her about was Zangief from Street Fighter having his own talk show. And that morphed into M. Bison having his own thing. So I don't think the video's on the channel anymore, because I think either Google or I went through and I deleted some of them just because of either embarrassment or because of I just didn't want to have him on there anymore. But yeah, I put one out there of him and showed it to her, and she just was laughing her ass off at it. So I just said, okay, yeah, I gotta make him a mainstay or an announcer or something, you know.
I mean, that makes sense, and I like how you do your own commentary, because some guys, I'm trying to remember his name, JWS, which doesn't really...
Oh, yeah.
He has, he's doing it with WWE, so he has the actual Joey Styles doing it, which is really cool, but before that, he was getting, like, clips of commentary and playing them to the video, and I originally tried to do that when I was doing stop motion. That was crazy. Like, it was impossible to find all the spots, like... Made everything so limited. Did you ever try that?
No. Well, one video has that. My Elite 21 Ryback review. That one has got some clips in it, but that was mostly just because, you know, it was just something I wanted to insert on a review. But pretty much everything after that. Oh no, my Elite 17 John Cena, that has that as well.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't anything like I was trying to copy what JWS was doing. It was more or less just, you know, I just wanted this here to establish who this character was. But yeah, watching him do that and like hearing all the different clips and stuff like that, and I'm like, wait a minute, I heard this on this SmackDown and I heard this on an episode of Raw. I'm just like, dude, he must be watching so many videos and just taking notes and stuff like that, because I had a series that I wanted to do and still plan on doing. I don't know if you know who the Super Best Friends plate.
I know exactly who they are. I know them.
Nice.
I watch a lot of... I'm a gamer at heart. I watch gaming stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I wanted to do one of them called Super Best Friends Animated, and I listen to their podcast every week, and I'll just like screenshot certain timelines on my phone, so I can remember where certain lines of dialogue are, and then I go back to watching JWS. I'm just like, God, dude, there's so many wrestling videos and just trying to remember where all that stuff is just crazy. And more props to him for being able to do that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but yeah, I'd have to say, a big reason why I wanted to start doing my own commentary was for I get to have M. Bison in there and do that voice, and watching guys like watching Grim do it, it looked like he was having a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And Captain McKay Random, like watching him do the commentary, and it was really cool how he does his. He really stays on point to what's going on in the ring and stuff like that, and he's like a combination of both when he does his wrestling commentary. I can't say it. It's like a combination of what I like about it. He's telling a story, and he's still calling out the moves. So it was definitely better than what WWE was doing.
Oh yeah,
and still doing. Yeah.
Yeah. God. Okay, so that actually is a great segue to talk about some things that are happening in wrestling, since we're both wrestling YouTubers. That's as I guess mainly. So it seems like a good segue. All right. So let's just start with a kind of a 5 list. Let's do this like a game. 5 things you hate. Go.
Number 1 is the commentary. It's absolutely garbage to listen to, and most of the time I turn down the volume or I watch other videos while I'm watching Monday Night Raw. Number 2 is the oversaturation of the product. There is way too many shows. I'd hate to say it, they should probably kill SmackDown and Main Event. And
wow.
One big show a week, one minor show a week, and NXT. Because NXT is basically SmackDown. It is the wrestling show.
True.
And it's the one a lot of the hardcore fans go to.
Oh, yeah.
Number 3, they need to get rid of scripted promos. Guys just need to go out there and do what they're doing. Like, fans didn't take to Roman Reigns because he's doing scripted promos. Fans didn't take to the New Day because in the beginning you could tell they were doing scripted stuff or whatever. But then as soon as New Day was cut loose, you know ad-libbing. So, and look at the reception of it. And their heels, I mean, they're 3 of the most over guys in the company or in all of wrestling right now.
The single most over tag team right now. It's impressive.
Yeah, and they're just going out there and they're having fun. And it's not, they're great wrestlers, but like in terms of tag team wrestling, how you mentioned, people keep telling me about the Young Bucks, the Briscoes.
Oh yeah.
Everyone is over New Japan and Ring of Honor and stuff like that, and I won't deny those guys are absolutely great. But in terms of their personality and their character, absolutely the best tag team is the New Day.
Oh yeah.
So let's see, that's
2
commentary,
things.
Commentary, oversaturation. Scripted promos.
3.
So I'm at 3. Oof. Number 4, Big Show. Just get rid of him.
Oh, yeah.
No,
you know what? That's one thing that personally frustrates me about the Big Show is that in the 90s and most of my early life, I'm only 18, but I remember some moments where Big Show really was the most devastating force ever. Like, I'm pretty sure in a match with Dre, like, they would have pushed him to the moon if not make him win, Mm-hmm. But it's the idea of him now becoming almost like you are just a plot point. That is all you will be for the rest of your career. I mean, he's done so much, but they don't have another giant. I mean, Big Cass is a tall guy, but he's not big, He's only 300 pounds. There's no 500-pound guy running around. They can't build a guy to be as genuine as the Big Show, which I think is their booking problem.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what my number 4 thing was. I was just basically picking on Big Show for a second there. Even though I like Big Show, my sister has met him, and
really?
He's a lovable guy. Yeah, he's a really sweet guy. He's awesome. But no, number 4 is the Authority and authority figures in general. That has been around since Stone Cold in the NWO days. It needs to go away. I just got done watching Wrestle Kingdom 10 from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I didn't get to watch it.
I won't spoil anything, but I'll just say, in terms of the product, it is so refreshing to see wrestlers be the center point of the storytelling, and not here's this overbearing authority figure causing all the mayhem. Because when you have the wrestlers and their motivations going out causing chaos, and the guys standing up to them, it means so much more to the fans. And back in the day, you could definitely do Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon, or The Rock versus Vince McMahon, or The Rock versus the McMahon-Helmsley era. That all was working because there was a real edge to it. It was new. It's 2016 now, and it's done. Like, their last great gasp of this was with Daniel Bryan and the Authority. But, obviously what happened. And I think after that, and I think definitely after Sting showed up, the Authority just sort of should have went away after that. They're still just overbearing. And, I mean, obviously I think this is going to lead to their dream match of Triple H and Stephanie versus The Rock and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 32, which is really what I think they're building to. But after that, they need to be done with it. They just need to go back to having heels versus faces, heel faction groups taking over and running the company, and then the faces standing up against them. Simple storytelling. They really just should get back to that.
Getting back to basics, that actually makes sense.
Yeah. Number 5, too many outside influences on the company. Because WWE, they're publicly traded. They've got a lot of people they need to answer to. So if somebody went out there and just cut a hard-edge promo, or if they decided, this match needs something more, I want to bleed a little bit, or I want to say something, they get in trouble, and then the next day they're fired. Or they get told, hey, guess what? Now you're going to get buried. Like, Cesaro goes out there and says, what, you want to see another John Cena-Randy Orton match? And then he's buried for like a year and a half, So it's just too many people saying, okay, you can't say a bad thing about John Cena because it's going to mess up our toy sales. And that's nothing against John Cena. That's against everybody who makes those decisions. I would have to say those would be my 5 things I just really hate about WWE and wrestling in general.
All right, and I tend to agree with you there. I get the outside influence thing. That's always frustrated me. But, I mean, in a sense, WWE was almost bankrupt for a little bit. McMahon is no longer a billionaire, which still shocks me. It's hard to say McMahon millionaire. I can't say it. Yeah. It's hard, because I always remember him as a billionaire. There was the Battle of the Billionaires, which, by the way, I thought this would be fun to ask. Have you heard of the Donald Trump getting out of the Hall of Fame petition?
Oh, they started a petition to get Donald Trump out of the WWE Hall of Fame?
Indeed.
I'm surprised they haven't actually just done that. You know, with what happened with Hulk Hogan and the things Donald Trump is saying while trying to run for office, I'm surprised they just haven't done it.
Yeah. I mean, I signed the petition. So I just thought I'd throw that out there because it sounded like something that, like, everyone should have an opinion on one way or the other.
Yeah, my opinion on it is just, like, if you're going to toss out Hulk Hogan, you got to toss out Donald Trump.
All right, and that was one of the questions I actually had, like, earmarked here. What do you think about celebrities making into the Hall of Fame? Because, the way I see it is that a Hall of Famer, like, Hogan, Dusty, Rick, they all worked their entire lives to reach this point in their careers where they became household names and they became the people that we love. They're the ones who get the action figures. They're the ones they're the big guys who worked for it. But then there are the celebrities such as Mr. T and Arnold Schwarzenegger who showed up once or twice, collected a check, and for some reason they're in the hall.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously WWE does this stuff because they want to bring in new eyes to the product. But when you do that, you change what the product is, and your established audience gets fed up, and they either leave or they become very contempt over what you're doing. So sometimes I think it's in all good fun. Like 2001 Royal Rumble, they had Drew Carey show up, and he did that little spot. They did that little spot with Kane. Do I think he deserves to be in a wrestling Hall of Fame for that? Absolutely not. But again, it's like, how legitimate is any Hall of Fame? And at the same time, really, it's just awards. A lot of these guys, their careers, they don't go into it in the beginning saying, oh man, I want to be in a Hall of Fame someday, They really just want to go out there because they love what they do. You know, they could go out there and be a jobber their entire career like Barry Horowitz. And I mean, I don't know if he was totally happy with that, but he seemed okay in his role of that. You know, they want to have a job doing what they love to do. I mean, certainly I'm not going to get a Hall of Fame plaque for working at Walmart back in the day, and I don't need one. I don't want one. But, you know, if it was a super legit Hall of Fame, I would say yes, having a celebrity wing would be embarrassing, but there's the E part in WWE, entertainment. So it kind of goes both ways. I'm okay with it because most of these people seem to genuinely like the product. And, you know, we got those couple moments where Pete Rose showed up and Kane tombstoned him. So, you know, fine, here's a Hall of Fame plaque. Thanks for doing that, you know. But I'm not really answering the question. I'm just kind of going off on a dumb rant. But,
well, that's kind of what interviews are for. I mean, have you heard half the shoot interviews?
Oh, yeah, I know, right? I'm going to start going off like Iron Sheik.
You know what? That's become him. Like, ironic. He's kind of embraced the fact that, like, that one thing that he did is who he is. And Virgil, too.
Yeah. Getting back to it, I would just say, yeah, for WWE, I'm okay with them inducting celebrities because they at least pointed out this is the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, you know?
That is true.
If they got an actual Hall of Fame building, they're not going to be next to the Bruno Sammartinos, the Hulk Hogans, the Randy Savages, you know, the Warriors, the Shawn Michaelses, the Bret Harts. They're going to be, you know, somewhere over here in the corner.
That is true.
Yeah, I almost wish they wouldn't kick people out of the Hall of Fame. I wish they would just stick to it and maybe, you know, just take it on the chin a couple times when somebody says, "Why is Hulk Hogan here?" Okay, yeah, he said he said and did some bad things, but you can't erase what he did. So there you go.
It's a really, like, I always called this the Chris Benoit paradox because that's a perfect describer because you have a legendary career that, like, if anyone deserves it to get in that hall, you know, wrestling being theatrical, scripted, or whatever, or not, it's one of those guys. But at the same time, they did something at the very, very end to kind of just make it unmentionable. I mean, most people don't even mention Benoit. They censor his name altogether.
Yeah, it seems like WWE is actually opening up a little bit more to acknowledging Benoit. I mean, you'll never hear his name on Raw or on anything else outside of, like, maybe the network. But, yeah, regarding that situation, that's going to come down to his family, whatever surviving members of his family are left. I mean, I don't really know
he had a second son.
Yeah, you know, if he's okay with WWE acknowledging him, then maybe they'll start, you know, kind of bring Chris Benoit back. But because again, it's like if you erase him, everybody's going to keep bringing him up. I mean, every WWE video on YouTube, someone mentions Chris Benoit, or you know, they mention the Chris Benoit, you know, the little funny names that they come up with for him or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point?
Everyone remembers him.
Get rid of him then. We're just going to keep bringing him up. No, you don't have to keep pumping out DVDs of him. You don't have to make action figures of him or T-shirts, whatever, you know. But you don't have to cut him out from existence because we all have tapes. We all have YouTube. We know he existed.
Is there ever something in WWE you wish they would talk about again or mention again that they just don't seem to be allowed to?
Can you give me an example? I mean, other than Benoit, obviously.
Well, like my favorite one is Hogan slamming Andre. That moment is the single most iconic moment in wrestling history. I mean, if that moment in its own could get a wing in the Smithsonian, Hulk Hogan himself, just for being an icon not just of wrestling, of pop culture, and that moment is one of the things people remember.
It's not as important as Mae Young giving birth to a hand, but it's up there.
Mae Young! Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, again, that just kind of goes back to, look, this person did a bad thing. We know they existed. Don't erase them from the Hall of Fame and from the network or whatever like that. But you know what? In terms of Hogan slamming Andre, I've seen that clip enough times to where I don't ever need to see it again. Yeah, in terms of Hulk Hogan, I don't need to see him doing all that stuff ever again. It sucks that because of what came to light recently about Jimmy Snuka, that he got removed from the Hall of Fame, and his whole entire career is just it's pinpointed on that one moment in Madison Square Garden where he jumped off the cage and splashed onto Don Morocco. Clearly he did more than that, but everybody remembers him for that.
Yes.
That's something that I think younger generations, unless they go and search that stuff out, WWE is not going to highlight on that, so that's pretty sad. I don't see WWE really talk about Owen Hart that much. I mean, I know his family wasn't okay with them selling merchandise on him or of him or anything like that, but it's like when guys do an enziguri or a sharpshooter, everyone always comments, "Oh, that's just like how Shawn Michaels used to do, or that's how Bret Hart used to do." It's like, nah, man, I see a lot of Owen in this guy.
Yeah.
And Kevin Owens, like his last name of his wrestling name is Owens because it's from Owen Hart, and it's also what he named his kid.
Yeah.
So I would like to see them talk about Owen, and they don't ever talk about Brian Pillman or his incident with the gun where Steve Austin tried to invade his home and he pulled a Glock on him.
I mean, other than the top 50 OMG DVD that I remember from a little bit back, yeah, you're right.
On there.
Yeah, I never.
There, isn't it?
Other than that, I've never really heard about that incident.
Yeah. Oh God, that was crazy. They had I think Kevin Kelly was at his house, and Brian was in because it was after Steve Austin crushed his ankle with a chair.
Oh yeah.
And they were feuding and stuff like that, and Steve Austin shows up and is beating up a bunch of Brian Pillman's buddies outside of his house, and then Pillman kept saying I'm gonna shoot, or I forget what he said. I just remember him being all calm and collective, and then just out of nowhere during his interview he pulls out a gun and his wife freaks out, and then they cut back to him and Kevin Kelly after a match, and you hear Austin outside, and then they cut over to a door, and he's breaking the glass on the door, and he comes in and starts charging into the room, and then the camera shifts back over, and there's Brian Pillman holding the gun at him, and then it just cuts to black, and you hear his wife screaming in the background, and I don't remember. I do remember watching it on USA, and I remember there being a gunshot, but in every single rebroadcast of it, they took it out. It was just one of those things that was way too far, even for that time.
Oh yeah.
And there's something I did want to talk about. I don't know if you've ever seen. I think it's called Hardcore Homecoming. It was a show that Shane Douglas put on right before One Night Stand, the first One Night Stand in 2005.
Oh yeah.
The wrestler New Jack. He pulled out a freaking knife and tried to stab a guy with it during the match. It was all kayfabe and stuff. So the guy's holding the blade an inch away from his face and stuff like that. I'm just like, dude, there is just that one line in wrestling that I don't want to see.
Well, okay.
Guns and knives. I'm just like, come on, that's too far. This is supposed to be unarmed combat, except for some weapons. But come on, you're this is just getting ridiculous.
All right. Well, on that logic, let's transition to New Japan. They do stuff like that all the time, but it's a different culture though. But I'm wondering why that translates so well. Okay, so I once watched a match where it was the Jushin Liger versus Muta. And Jushin Liger straight up lunges at Muta with a kunai in hand and stabs the table behind him. And that was the first. That was the first time. That really happened. Have you ever seen that match?
No, I haven't.
Oh, please look it up. That was the first match I watched to get into Japanese wrestling. I'm still getting into it, but that was what got me into it. But anyways, that translates for some reason. If an American fan watches that happen in Japan, they say, "Wow, that's so cool." They watch New Jack pull the knife, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa."
I guess it depends on the context, really, because when you're watching something like Hardcore Homecoming, you know this is hardcore wrestling. They're going to try to do something with the full intention of shocking you, whereas New Jack has a background as being a thug and pulling a knife on somebody. You know, it's like, okay, it's almost like commentary. Like, you know, you hear about stabbings and stuff like that every day. You really don't want to see that when you're watching wrestling. The same thing with the gunplay with Brian Pillman. Even though, holy crap, I can't believe they did this. Was it really awesome? It's just like, you know, I want to watch wrestling to escape this level of violence, or at least this kind of stuff that I see happen every single day, you know? Now, you go over to Japan, where you got a guy who grabs another dude's junk, and the guy's junk fights back. And
Joey Ryan.
Yeah, you've seen the Joey Ryan clip. Now,
who hasn't?
Yeah, you know, it's like in that same context. Now, was it Liger that tried to stab Muda?
Yes, and then, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's like, you look at Liger, he looks like something from Power Rangers, you know? And you look at Muda, he looks like a freaking horror villain character. So in a sense, he's trying to stab a monster. He's not trying to stab a real human being.
I guess that makes more sense. So
yeah, that's really, to me, that's really all it comes down to, is what is the context of what I'm watching here, you know what I mean?
All right. That actually makes perfect sense. Speaking of Japanese wrestlers, I guess that could be a good situation, segue into my...
It's not so easy, huh?
No, I talk on a camera almost professionally. And sometimes I do screw up. Everyone does. Anyways, the last thing I have written down here is I wanted to ask you about indie darlings, which is something that the IWC, or Internet Wrestling Community, refers to as Owens, Balor, those who came from, you know, a famed indie background, compared to guys who were just debuting in NXT, Tyler Breeze and Baron Corbin, because a lot of people hate on Corbin, and then some people defend him by saying, just because he's not an indie darling. Your thoughts? I mean, you know, is it really fair to make that comparison, to have someone who has an already somewhat storied career versus someone who really is just getting their name out?
Now, are we saying, is it fair to make that criticism of people that are getting their start in NXT just because they weren't on the indie scene?
Yes.
No, I don't actually think that's fair at all. I mean, these guys got the opportunity to go to the Performance Center, and I mean, it's kind of like, if it's there, use it. Whereas back in the day, when you look at indie darlings like Sami Zayn when he was El Generico, or, you know, he was inspired by El Generico. I mean, I think El Generico's retired, and, you know, Sami Zayn just kind of took up his moniker.
Like every doink?
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got Kevin Owens, who was Kevin Steen, and you have Daniel Bryan, who was Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and all those guys. Crap, train of thought lost. Let me get back to it real quick. They went to the resources that were available to them. At the time, WWE said no to them, or they gave them tryouts and they just weren't what they were looking for. So then they would go to the next best thing, which was, you know, Ring of Honor, or FCW, or OVW, or whatever else was available at the time, New Japan. So, you know, it's just, they went somewhere else. That's kind of what the bottom line of it was. And Kevin Owens and those guys, they were doing this long before NXT was even around.
Of course.
I mean, a lot of the guys that came from NXT, they started in FCW, and of course those guys, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, they all started from somewhere else too, but then they also went into NXT and then went up. Now with guys like Corbin, again, he's young. He's going to use whatever resources are available to him. If he wants to go into NXT because of his look and his athleticism and doesn't want to spend all that time on the indie scene, that's his choice. And the dude's got talent. I mean, watching him squash people in the ring, I legitimately enjoyed it. And watching his heel turn, I'm still a fan. I mean, sure, he's probably not a ring general to where, at least not yet, to where you could throw him somebody who's completely green and he'll give you a 3 or 4 star match out of it. But no, I think he's got legit talent for not being on the indie scene. It's kind of cool that guys can have the indie scene cred, but we all love NXT,
Of course.
and we say it's the best thing WWE has. So it's like, why go after these guys for starting in something that we love? And at least in Corbin's case, when I first started watching NXT, the crowd was cheering him. I mean, do you remember they started doing the countdown to when he was going to beat somebody?
Yeah, I remember that.
And yeah, and the crowd popped for this guy. And then, you know, I think he had that one match against Rhino. And again, here's this established guy going up against this new kid. People are going to say, well, I'm going to cheer for Rhino because Rhino's back. So it's really, it's legitimacy and it's longevity. He hasn't been around that long for fans to really grasp onto. And Tyler Breeze, I think if anybody deserves fan support, it's him, because how many times was that guy on the chopping block? I haven't seen his episode of Breaking Ground, but from what everyone's told me of it and from the few small clips I've seen, he's been around in FCW and he's been here and there, but, you know, just nothing really stuck for the guy. And then, bam, he comes up with the Tyler Breeze character and everyone just kind of flocked to it. So it's like, okay, he did it. He's established himself. He's got a great character. Support, you know?
That makes perfect sense. And now, I can't say anything to even debate against that. That actually makes perfect sense.
No, I guess it's kind of weird because I kind of get where people are coming from, because when you watch matches in Ring of Honor, like holy crap, I watched the match with Kevin Steen and El Generico where it was a ladder match, and the stuff they were doing way beyond a lot of the things I've seen in WWE, and I wish they could get back to. And just the normal matches, I saw a match between Bryan Danielson and Prince Devitt, and it was like a match for a tournament or whatever, and like the mat wrestling, the chain wrestling, the submissions these guys were doing, and nobody was doing commentary for this match, and it's like a 25-minute match. I'm just sitting here watching it, like mouth open, like, oh my god, this is so good. And, you know, they come into WWE and they have that established fan base, and the guys in NXT just don't have that yet. So I get where the argument comes from, but I think once you see the point of we need to watch these guys grow before just dumping all over them happens. And again, that could just be a thing of youth, and it can be a thing of inexperience to new wrestling fans. You just got to give people time.
All right. Now, we've been doing the interview for about 40 minutes. Oh my god.
Time flies.
Yeah, I gotta cut this a little short, but I have one last thing I'd really like to ask.
Okay.
Captain McKay always had his Wolverine character come up to him every video and say, "Where's Collision?" And my only question for you is, you've done Meltdown, and the main event's over, the show is over. Do you plan to do any other like storyline type things for the channel, or is this it?
Nope, this definitely isn't it. The next thing that's coming out is, you've seen Captain McKay's Warzone show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like he recaps storylines leading up to a pay-per-view. That's what's coming up next for my channel. Is I have a show coming out called The Fallout, and what it is, you had the meltdown, now you got to live with the fallout of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so what's going to happen after that? We're going to find out what happened to Rey Mysterio. What's CM Punk going to do next to piss me off, because now he's going to come after my character for getting involved in his business.
Love it.
We'll see what happens with the Clique, and is Stone Cold going to be an active wrestler in BPW now? What's Mike Hagar got planned for the company, and are the rest of the Paul Heyman guys going to feel the wrath of the Undertaker? And another big thing I'm building up towards is the Cerberus Tag Team Championship, which is the 6-man tag titles.
Yeah, which you were doing before Lucha Underground. I give you props for that.
New Japan. They actually just came out with their. I think it's their Never Wait or Never something 6-person tag match that the Briscoe brothers and another guy took on the Bullet Club for.
Nice.
That was in Wrestle Kingdom 10. But yeah, it's cool to see that six-man tag is coming back, and it's coming back in a big way to where people are like, they need titles now. So I actually still have to make the belts for them, but there's going to be a tournament between the Shield, the Wyatts, Legion of Doom, and a mystery partner, and Demolition.
Nice. Now, I have a theory here. You don't have to say whether I'm correct or not. But being the wrestling historian that I claim to be in my videos, Dusty Rhodes, back in the days of the territories, there were a triple tag team title, and he won them with the Warriors. I'm not going to make that claim and say that's who I think it is, but that's who I think it is. You don't have to say I'm correct or not. You can leave that as a secret. But I just want to put that out there. All right, well, I'll definitely be watching, and hopefully anyone who sees this will be looking forward to it too. God, that is hard.
Yeah, man. Just again, shoot me an email. Let me know when this is up, and I'll link it to my Instagram, and I'll see if I can put out like a quick video. See if we can get some views on it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, anytime.
So again, this is my first interview. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. This was fun.
All right, audience at home. I'm Skylar Mars. This has been Mars TV with that guy with the gloves, Chase Murphy. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, and we'll see you, audience, next time.